pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rest. Right now, it's time for hemp.
Thank you for taking time for hemp. I'm your host, Casper Leitch. You are listening to Time for Hemp all over the internet on Google+, Android. You can check us out at iTunes. You can find us on iHeartRadio. We are the only 24-hour day, 7-day-a-week, all cannabis, all the time broadcasting network on iHeartRadio. We got a Roku TV network that we've launched, and I can certainly tell you, if you want to listen to us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it's easy to do. Go to our website for starters, and you can also, like I said, find us on iHeart and iTunes and everywhere else. We are celebrating today, Tuesday, Canada Day, as I call it, Canada Day. All of my friends up in Canada, they're an amazing group of activists who have been diligently working to end prohibition for a very, very long time. I think with better success in some ways than we here in the States. They've got a great hemp industry, and now they've got a leader of a country who has just jumped up and down and said, all right, you clowns, smoke them if you got them. Ain't that right, Kelly?
Well, not quite, but basically our newly elected prime minister has given a directive to the health minister to start working towards cannabis legalization in Canada, which is super crazy awesome. But who knows? Of course, looks like they're going to do a federal-provincial kind of deal. I'm assuming that because they want to bring in all the provinces, that it's going to be probably taxed and handled in each province, maybe by our, similar to what we have as our liquor control boards. Each province handles their own alcohol and tobacco taxes.
Okay.
So I'm under the assumption that that's where it's going to fall, somewhere in there. And was given a directive to the Minister of Health to get it happening. So, yes, we are actually moving towards legalization in Canada.
Oh my God! I can almost see you guys too up there holding hand in hand with the DEA singing "Kumbaya." Oh my God! Oh my God!
So we're hoping for sooner than later, of course. But as you know, the wheels of government are not very round, shall we say? And but there's a directive to start the process. So that's all we can do is just sit back and wait and see where they go. But it's an exciting time for sure for cannabis legalization in Canada. Yahoo!
Yeah, baby. It sounds like you guys are truly making more progress than we here in the States. And I can also tell you that our joint host today, and I are being joined by a joint guest today who is in the middle of making certain that our government their government in Canada is going to stand behind the ability to let people have their medical cannabis. Am I correct in assuming that?
Yes, you are completely correct in assuming that. We're all about making sure people can get the medicine. Yes, sir. And, with Mr. Trudeau, the thing about Mr. Trudeau is that he has a lot of things to consider going forward because unlike the rest of Canada, the west coast of Canada is deep into legalization. And the city of Vancouver there's some 95 medical dispensaries there. On Vancouver Island, we're looking at 30 medical dispensaries and 11 in my small city of Nanaimo, BC, on Vancouver Island.
Wow!
So I think there's lots of things to consider. And today, and just in the last week, our situation here in Nanaimo has actually tested Mr. Trudeau's promise to legalize. So we were happy to say that it looks like he's going to follow through on this first step.
And ladies and gentlemen, you are hearing from Dean Schwind. I forgot to mention his name. Forgive me. Sometimes when I'm hitting the pipe, it's all I can do to remember to even speak. Kelly, I'll let you and Dean have your joint chat. Don't forget, anytime you hear the word joint on the big broadcast, nearly 2.5 million people all around the world pack their bongs, their pipes, their vaporizers, and take time for hemp. Go for it, y'all.
Good morning, Dean. How you doing today?
I'm very well, sir. Enjoying the sunny weather on Vancouver Island, which is fairly rare.
Yes, of course, it's fairly rare, but at least your climate is fairly mild.
Yeah, I'm not locked in a desperate snow belt like you are, but -2 gets cold for us out here.
Yeah, for sure. So, anyhow, we have you on the show today because you got something big going on out there, battle or something you'd like to tell us about?
Yeah, well, I find myself in the midst of, and many others of us, in a battle in Nanaimo, BC. Now, Nanaimo is a small city on Vancouver Island. It's the second largest city on the island, and like most of British Columbia, is seeing a proliferation of cannabis dispensaries that have sprung up as a result of a gray area in the law, and also because municipal government in the city of Vancouver has essentially decided they're not going to fight people on the marijuana issue. So it's a kind of a crazy time here. We're all living in a weird time where it's illegal yet it's kind of legal, and that was illustrated most strongly this last week when on November 12th the RCMP in Nanaimo served 10 dispensaries with a letter essentially ordering them to stop selling cannabis within 7 days or face arrest, raids, and arrest of not only our staff members but our patient members as well. So it was quite an aggressive letter. It came out of the blue. Nobody saw it coming, and it flies directly in the face of what Mr. Trudeau has said is going to be a legalization policy.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely. Any idea where the malice comes from?
Yeah, and this is the thing. So, of course, just to run down my background a little bit, I've been working in the medical cannabis movement for some 20 years now. And my background it comes from an organization called the Cannabis Buyers Club of Canada, which has recently changed its name to the Victoria Cannabis Buyers Club. This is the oldest and perhaps the largest compassion club in Canada, started by a man named Ted Smith back in 1989. There's about several thousand members of this club. It's gone through 4 raids by police, 4 times we beat the charges, and we were the folks that took the Owen Smith cookie trial to the Supreme Court of Canada and won just recently. So my background is activist. It's medical, and so when I came north on the island from Victoria to Nanaimo, I came to write a story for Cannabis Digest, which is a paper here in Canada, which talks about all the goings on and political stuff in the country. And I came across a dispensary patterned after Ted Smith's dispensary called Phoenix Pain Management Society. Long story short, I got involved with these folks, and they offered me a job, and so I became the operations manager. And after about a year of operations in Nanaimo, all of a sudden, out of the blue, we got hammered with this letter. And the funny thing about it was that, Mr. Trudeau, we had an election here in October, and Mr. Trudeau was elected. Part of his campaign promises were about legalizing the country. So getting slammed by the RCMP completely out of the blue. But because we had an activist background, because we knew what we were doing, because we fought this fight for many years, we launched into a campaign over Facebook, over the media. We had the issue on the Prime Minister's desk within 24 hours, and we had the Justice Minister commenting to CBC Radio within, the 36 hours. We had meetings with the City Council. We've had meetings with the Mayor. And essentially, there's been an onslaught of support that's come from every part of Canada. And we basically got the RCMP to back off for a cooling period right now. But the fact of the matter is, all 3 levels of government, municipal, provincial, and federal, claim that they don't know anything about this. They did not issue this order to do this. And the RCMP refused to tell us who told them to do it.
Wow. Having any grief from the local guys? They don't like you?
Well, that's what we thought at first because, the letter was a handwritten letter. It wasn't on RCMP letterhead, and it didn't look official. But the police officer that delivered it to the clubs, we can verify that he was a police officer. So at first, even though a lot of people thought it was a joke, it turned out to be real. And yet the press, literally the press descended on the Nanaimo RCMP, all the television stations, all the radio stations. And the RCMP just refused to comment for like 48 hours. And then finally they came out and said that the letter is part of their commitment to public safety in the area. And that's all they said. So it's kind of weird. We've had to sort of go through back channels with city councilors and the mayor of Nanaimo to try to figure out what's going on here, who said to do this, and how can we stop it?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Interesting. Like you say, sounds kind of like local.
Yeah, we thought that these guys maybe, but gee whiz, we've been around for a year, and we're a not-for-profit charity. There are 10 clubs in town, but our club is basically a not-for-profit charity. So we're kind of confused that you leave us alone for a year, and then all of a sudden we're an issue. And on top of that, the mayor and the city council are currently working on their own plan to tax and regulate. Just like every single municipality on Vancouver Island is currently taxing and regulating dispensaries. They're popping up all over the island. So Nanaimo is the only place that there's been trouble. And some people are actually having a look at the fact that there's a legal producer here, one of the government's approved producers for medical marijuana called Tilray is located here in Nanaimo. They have deep commitments with the city in terms of employment, in terms of taxation, those kind of things. So there was a lot of speculation that this was coming from that area. However, it's all hearsay at this point because no one wants to step up to the plate and say that they ordered this.
That's really, really interesting for sure. Well, but the battle's on hold, is it?
Yeah, it seems that, again, through back channels, we managed to have a meeting with the mayor yesterday. We did make a brief presentation to the city council, and councillors were interested and ordered the staff to put together an information paper so that we can actually present something to the committee in the whole this coming Monday. But essentially, from our understanding, a bunch of city councillors wrote to the superintendent of the local RCMP and just asked them to please back off for a little while so we can get some direction from the federal government about what we want to do here. And in the meantime, the good thing about this is that we've actually developed a nice relationship with city council and with local government, and they've expressed interest in having us come to sit at the table with them when they do start to design the laws around how they're going to regulate us. And that gives us a lot of hope because we hope to be able to give them good input and keep this out of the hands of big business, which is one of our big concerns.
Well, of course, anytime that you're up and open and operating, everything is sort of business as usual with this thing hanging so to speak.
Yeah, the deadline was actually yesterday, and we were determined to stay open. Now, some of the clubs in town closed because they were just simply not prepared to deal with it.
Right.
Some of the clubs are simply retail operations that are just masquerading as medical shops.
Right.
But we are a not-for-profit charity, and we are an activist organization, and so we had never had any question about closing our doors. We did reduce our stock levels, and we did make sure that we didn't keep a lot of cash on the property.
Right.
But essentially, we had a long line of volunteers, perhaps 50 people deep, that were willing to come and sit in the shop. So should the RCMP come and take a small amount of stock, we were prepared to put another 2 people in the shop and another small box of stock, and we could do that every day for 50 days. So, we're not backing off. We're not going away,
right.
And they know that, and so I think that we're seeing some light at the end of the tunnel.
Nice. So beyond that, of course, with the federal election and Justin Trudeau gaining power and, supposedly we're moving towards legalization or at least getting the process started. Is that going to change the way that you guys are? obviously there's no information. Are you going to be able to continue to operate the way you are? Or are they going to take it away from you, like you say, put it in the hands of, you have a liquor control board in British Columbia. Maybe they go for a marijuana control board, or filter it in through that system, run it through liquor stores. Are they going to have standalone cannabis stores? Everything's in the open. So you, as a dispensary, and having been open for quite some time, are you feeling any, are you concerned about the nature of your business, that you're going to be able to operate, somewhere down the road?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of concerns there. That, like you said, all of those things are huge factors playing into this. One of the things that we want to do is, first of all, we want the Trudeau government to look at examples of what works. And we look at the state of Oregon, we look at Colorado, we look at Washington State. They all have done, programs. They're slightly different programs, but they've all been pretty successful. And one of the things that Oregon did that we thought was wonderful was that they went out and talked to people in the community, and they grandfathered models of operation in. And by what I mean by that is that we're hoping that as we go forward, the federal government will look at all the different models that are available to look at, those that are operating in the United States and those that are operating here in British Columbia, which have been operating for a very long time, despite the fact that we've been illegal. We have a good handle on what we're doing, and we have a lot of input. So we're hoping that, first of all, they'll come to us and ask us about what we've been doing and what we can do to make sure that this happens, unfolds correctly. Secondly, we want to make sure that we're not going to get into a monopoly situation. And that's really what a lot of the legal producers in the country are simply hoping, that Mr. Trudeau is going to open the recreational market doors for them. They've invested a lot of money. The medical producers in this country have a very small market. There's only 40,000 people who carry the Health Canada card who can shop at a legal producer. So they want access to that large legal market, which is, billions of dollars. So we're a little bit worried that Mr. Trudeau is going to lean towards big business, and he's going to set up a liquor control board type of situation that will be supplied by legal producers, and he'll create monopolies. So that's a big concern for us, especially in the medical marijuana field. And I think that one of the issues that we're having here is that if they legalize, they have to deal with home grow-ups, and they have to deal with the fact that, unlike alcohol, pretty much anybody can throw a seed in the backyard and get some bud out of it, So it's not hard to do. And I think that these are things that they're going to have to consider. And I think that they'll be wise to consider the current players in the mix. And so our fingers are crossed. We're hoping if we start with municipal governments and get those guys to sort of begin our dialogue, we have good relationships with the BC provincial government. So we're hoping that dialogue will spread to the federal government, and they'll actually see the opportunity. They'll come to speak with people who've been doing this for a while.
Well, one of the things that Jack Hare was quick to point out to me was follow the money. The reason why this was outlawed to begin with was because of what you just said. People can throw this seed out in their backyard and suddenly grow it. And in fact, Henry Ford did 2 acres to see if it would be great fuel that he could use, because they weren't certain if they were going to go biofuel or with something that you could grow out of the ground like hemp or other plants. And because this wonderful plant is in direct competition with so many other industries, it literally terrified the oil industry, terrified the paper industry that was dealing with what they wanted to deal with, trees instead of this plant. And so they decided, as we all know, to outlaw this plant because, as Jack Hare said, follow the money. As long as it was something that everybody could grow, nobody could get as rich as the oil cartels. So speaking of following the money, we're going to do that now. To pay our bills and then we're going to listen to a song about how fantastic marijuana is, and then when we come back, we're going to pick up where we left off here at Time for Hemp.
You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Please share us with your friends.
THCF Medical Clinics are the premier physicians clinic in the United States. THCF has offices all across the United States from Hawaii to Michigan. THCF Medical Clinics has helped approximately 150,000 patients obtain their medical marijuana permits to legally possess, grow, and use medical marijuana. If you have chronic pain, multiple sclerosis, or any other neurological degenerative disease, or if you have any gastrointestinal disorders such as GERD, irritable bowel syndrome, or if you have AIDS, cancer, spastic disorders, seizure disorders, or glaucoma, call us at 1-800-723-0188 or visit us online at hemp.org. Again, the number is 1-800-723-0188 and the site is hemp.org.
Struggling, just cut a switch and roll it. I bet you that'll ease your pain and help it be focused. For all my people losing hope, they need to stand up and vote. Cause medical marijuana just might be that rope that we can climb up so we can reach our peak. Cause on the real, marijuana help our peeps eat. Like people with AIDS, cancer, and eating disorders. It's time to take a stand, dog, and get it in order so we can smoke freely like across the border. Marijuana, it helps people just like water. What's the problem? It's a natural herb. If you ain't know, then I'm telling you it came from the earth. All we gotta do is stand up, stick together and fight. Showing we know our rights, point out the facts and recite to make a difference. And medical marijuana itself, go back to the basics and showing we helps. All we gotta do is stand up, stick together and fight. Showing we know our rights, point out the facts and recite to make a difference. And medical marijuana itself, go back to the basics and showing we helps.
It's a lot of people sick and they ain't got no help, so they roll up a joint just to help their health, wishing for a way to legalize. Marijuana got us really high, barely getting by. Man, they wanna give a case to a young chiefer for getting caught with a little reefer. Medicinal marijuana, yeah, my people need it, and we gon' fight for the cause. We tired of hiding weed in our socks and our drawers. This what God grew for me and you. Stick together, we can make it through. Dreams really come true, and it's a fact that we need that. So we gon' ride till they legalize the chronic herb, now where the weed at?
All we gotta do is stand up, stick together and fight. Showing we know our rights, point out the facts and recite to make a difference. And medical marijuana itself, go back to the basics and showing we helps. All we gotta do is stand up, stick together and fight. Showing we know our rights, point out the facts and recite to make a difference. And medical marijuana itself, go back to the basics and showing we helps. Seen it for ourselves, so if we know the value, why we keep it to ourselves? When we can save another life and show them the method, tell them to legalize it, dog. It's not a weapon, the only thing is helping is marching and stepping, stand up, protesting, so they stop neglecting the truth. And just explain to the youth that it's not to be abused, so they won't be confused. All we gotta do is stand up, stick together and fight. Showing we know our rights, point out the facts and recite to make a difference. And medical marijuana itself, go back to the basics and showing we helps. All we gotta do is stand up, stick together and fight. Showing we know our rights, point out the facts and recite to make a difference. And medical marijuana itself, go back to the basics and showing we helps.
Yeah, this song is dedicated to all the med patients, all the people that need their weed to make it through their everyday life. And it's dedicated to Jonathan Magby, paraplegic who lost his life in jail because the judge ain't like the fact that he was smoking weed. Rest in peace, Jonathan. It's from the individuals. Much love.
Weed helps. That was the Individuals, and that was a song about the need for medical cannabis. And speaking of the need for medical cannabis, our joint host today is very kind and gracious to do something very wonderful for the medical cannabis community. And Kelly, I'll let you share that.
You bet. For several years now, we've had the ability to give away a free vaporizer to a medical patient somewhere or anywhere in the world. So wherever you're listening and you're a medical patient and you can't afford a quality vaporizer, listen in, because this is your opportunity to get one 100% for free. All the only requirements are that you are use cannabis as a medicine for anything. Doesn't matter what your ailment or pain situation, whatever you may use it for, that makes you eligible if you use cannabis as a medicine. The other thing is we're looking for people, of course, who can't actually afford to buy one. They're on a pension, old age, or assisted income, or different types of programs that are out there that people are on that barely pay them enough money to pay rent and buy food, let alone get medication, and certainly think about owning a quality vaporizer. These are the people we're after. So either hopefully you're listening, or if you're not one of these people and you can afford to buy a vaporizer and you're involved in the cannabis medical industry, you certainly know people who could never afford a vaporizer and could certainly benefit from one. So it's super simple. All you have to do is send me an email to Kelly, Kelly, at kdkwholesale.ca. Tell us a little bit about yourself, of course, and contact information, so on and so forth. And we'll put your name in the hat, so to speak. And yeah, we pick a winner every month, and it's awesome to be able to send out a vaporizer to a medical patient somewhere in the world.
And on behalf of the medical cannabis movement, thank you, Kelly. That's such a very gracious thing for you and your team to do. And especially an act of love like that is always a generous thing. And when somebody's trying to improve their quality of life and when they're dealing with horrific health issues. So that's very kind of you indeed. Well, with that said, let's get back to our joint chat with our joint guest here on the Big Joint Broadcast as I smoke my joint here in the joint. How's that?
That's a lot of joints.
Yeah.
Well, it's time for a joint station.
Yeah. So when we left there were a couple of questions I still had, or comments, I guess. One is with legalization, and not only you guys, the ability, where do you fit in the legalization profile, but where does the medical patient themselves that is allowed to grow? Are they going to continue to allow the medical patients that have the license to grow? Are they going to allow them to continue to grow? Are they going to open the door and allow future patients to grow for themselves? These are, people are wondering. And then as a recreational user, again, are they going to allow them to, like some countries are allowing everybody to grow a few plants or a certain number of plants for themselves? Like we have, of course, legally you can produce your own beer or wine at home, but you can't produce whiskey or rum or vodka or any of the hard liquors. They don't allow you to produce that at home. So are they going to allow us to produce sativa at home but don't allow indica? I don't know. There's just so many questions and roads to travel and figure out what they're going to do. It's going to be a big and probably long process before everything gets done.
Yeah, there's no question that it's extremely complicated. And the separation between the medical cannabis issues and the recreational cannabis issues, there's a great divide there, because in terms of medical cannabis, we're dealing with people who are sick, and we really have to be very careful about the quality of the medicine, about who's making the medicine, about being able to trace the medicine from its birth right to the patient's body, having accountability. All of the things that other medicines that are commonly used in our society have to be implemented when it comes to cannabis. And I think that we have to be really careful to have a good, fair, hard look at how we're going to do this from the medical standpoint. We need to get doctors involved. We need to get prejudice dropped, because currently, there's lots of doctors in the country that want to talk about this, but their hands are tied by the medical association, and they're being told not to talk about it. We need to open these doors and educate people. And as people are educated, they begin to understand the benefits of this medicine. And the thing about it really is that's interesting is that in my dispensary, my clientele is between 35 and 90 years old. I have a lot of senior citizens. And because Nanaimo is a place where people come to retire in Canada, we have a high population of seniors anyways. But we've been able to go out. We actually have a senior counselor. She goes out and she makes presentations in old age homes and at community centers. She talks to elderly people. Every single day of the week, I have people coming in with big bags of pharmaceutical medicine saying, "I feel terrible. Can you help me?" And a month later, they're dancing into the dispensary with a smile on their face, and they're sleeping at night, and they don't hurt like they used to, and they're playing with their grandkids. So we understand that there's lots of big questions here, and we want them all explored. But while they're being explored, we need to be left alone to continue to help the patients that we're helping, and we need to be encouraged and assisted in getting education out there. The more people that know about this, the more people that believe that this is an option for them, the more that it'll become an accepted part of society, and we'll just be able to move forward. And a lot of these questions will resolve themselves.
Oh, did we lose you?
Yeah. No, I'm there. Sorry. Yeah. So ultimately, really it becomes a question of, where are they going to start? And, the recreational market is, all we have to really worry about there is it's going to be safe, and that everybody has an equal opportunity there as a businessman to get into that. We're not going to deal with monopolies. We don't have them in other things in our country, so we don't want them in this. But the medical thing is completely different. It requires some intense discussions.
Well, I have no doubt that they will continue on with the medical program. How they're going to do it is where, of course, all the questions lie. With legalization, is that going to, hopefully reduce the price with free market competition, reduce the price of medication? Because I know currently it's still fairly high, and it would be great to get that price point down for the medical patient. As you know, dealing with them, a lot of them are on assisted income or a limited income of some variety, and the people who need it the most have the least. It's an unfortunate situation, and
it certainly is.
And
what's interesting is right now we have two big trials that are currently before essentially the Supreme Court of British Columbia, talking just about this patients' rights to grow. It's the Allard trial is about a group of patients that want to have the right to continue to grow their medicine in their own homes. So this, are these trials going to be, are they going to be worthless? In 2 years' time, when Mr. Trudeau legalizes, will all of this money that has been spent on prosecuting these patient criminals for growing cannabis in their homes, for processing the cannabis into cookies or into hash or into another form which they can consume more easily. What about all the guys that have, gone to jail for this, all the people that are still in jail for it? It's just huge. It's huge and thorny, and I don't envy the guy, I'll say that.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly going to be a big pile to look after. And also with legalization, maybe the medical patient now becomes that just all because it's now legal, it should be covered under your health care, your any programs you might be, pharmaceutical things that are now covered should probably be covered by the by those same companies and by the government and however the process works now for pharmaceuticals. I'm definitely under the assumption that with legalization will come coverage, insurance coverage, and all that kind of stuff.
Well, it's interesting because in my dispensary now, currently, I have 2 people that have been in severe car accidents and had made claims with ICBC, which is the insurance company of British Columbia. We only have one insurance company in this province, and everybody had to insure their cars with them. But both of these cases involved neck and back injuries, and both of these patients chose to treat those neck and back injuries with cannabis-based medicines, and the insurance company of British Columbia paid for the medicine for both of these people.
Awesome.
So there is precedent happening. The government is recognizing that this is a valid medicine. So hey, man, if one of the biggest provincial insurance organizations in the country recognizes cannabis as medicine, how far are we away from from the federal health system recognizing cannabis as medicine? And one of the things that we're also involved in is a pilot program with Canadian veterans and who use cannabis for PTSD. And I think that that's an area that we can really move forward quickly. And I think that everybody can agree that those guys have been through enough, and if this medicine works for them, we should make it available to them. And Veterans Affairs is actually considering doing this right now. So that, I think, is where we're going to make our first inroad.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. Yeah. I know there are a lot of veterans currently in the medical cannabis program. But yeah, to have the military and government, again, even though we have a program, as you say, it's funny, it's not really recognized as a medicine yet, whether it be the medical community or whatever, and yet we can all see the benefits. So many people now have seen it on TV with these young children that cannabis eliminates their seizures or eliminates or reduces them by 95%. It's amazing how can any human being not recognize it as medicine when you see it working like that.
It is crazy. And another 2 other programs that Phoenix Pain Management is involved in is we're working with seizure patients' children through the University of Alberta to get this medicine recognized. They've got a pilot program there, and we've been sending them product for some time now for them to test. And we also have a really exciting case of a man who was burnt over 90% of his body. And although he's healed to some degree, we send him, the University of Alberta contacted us and said that this guy would like to try cannabis-based medicines. Can you help him? And we sent up a whole sample package of different types of salves and bombs and capsules and things like that. And this guy's been using this stuff for about 3 months now, and he's having excellent results. He's getting through his day-to-day life. So the doors are opening.
Yes, they continue to move open, and they will continue to do that. And it'll be very interesting to see how the government handles all these little situations within the cannabis industry, not just recreationally, but medically, separating the two, covering it with, making sure that it's covered by insurance or workers' compensation or Veterans Affairs or whoever the body is, the welfare program, personal, for guys like us, just who are still in the workforce, our extended coverage, or maybe even through Alberta Healthcare, or somebody's got to take the weight on with legalization and acceptance. Acceptance still isn't there, even though we've had a program for over 10 years, and insurance companies and that. I guess they're always fighting not to pay anyhow, and they're looking at it as, oh my goodness, we're going to have to now pay for this medicine, and for whatever reason they don't want to, or they seem to be able to hide behind the fact that it's in that gray area, or it hasn't been accepted or totally accepted by the medical community.
Well, and speaking of making payments, that's what we got to do here on the big broadcast, is pay our bills. We're going to take a quick 1-minute break, and then we'll be right back here on Time for Hemp.
You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. The only broadcasting network dedicated to ending the global war on drugs on iHeartRadio. Please share us with your friends.
Serious Seeds is your source for quality cannabis and sativa seeds. Serious Seeds are the creators of legendary strains like AK-47, Bubblegum, Chronic, Cali Mist, and White Russian. The AK-47 is probably the most awarded strain on the planet. The high THC content of AK-47 makes it the perfect medical strain for patients seeking quick pain relief. Cali Mist is an almost pure sativa. Female medical cannabis patients have reported that this strain helps relieve menstrual cramps. Serious Seeds just acquired another Dutch high-quality seed bank, Magus Genetics. From now on, Serious Seeds can offer you even more award-winning strains. The fine folks at Serious Seeds strive to breed the best cannabis genetics that they can find, so patients can rely on the effectiveness of their medicine. Go to SeriousSeeds.com to grow your medicine. That site again is SeriousSeeds.com.
Well, I once had a bowl, good green reefer, a big fat don't be much, much sweeter. I don't hide it. I don't hide it. Well, I don't hide it. I don't hide it. Well, I don't hide it. Fire up right now.
Yeah, fire up right now. Be loud, be proud. Let everybody know that you are a cannabis consumer. Step out of the closet. That way they know that, you can't arrest us all. Good golly, Miss Molly, there's more than 5 of us now. And you also need to get up off your duff and become one of the people who's making a difference. If you're sitting there trying to figure out if Niles is going to tell Daphne how much he loves her, I don't know. I'm thinking maybe you should find something better to do, like let your neighbors know that prohibition sucks and we need to bring it to an end. And then finally, I want to remind you that we're doing something groovy on the website. I'm trying to bring that word back. No, not groovy. Website's the word I'm working on. And we are growing marijuana live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in real time, baby. That's what we're talking about starting November 30th. And they're going to be doing it 2 years back to back, showing you how to germinate and then take it from a nice tall plant, separate the males and females, and then watch the females go into a lovely little harvest. Then we're going to dry those out, and then we're going to smoke them right there on the air. We just love it, and we're going to do that for 2 years. So let your friends know if they want to see how marijuana grows to go to timeforhemp.com. With that said, I'm going to pass this joint chat back to my joint host and our joint guest here on the Big Joint broadcast. Gentlemen?
Hey, Dean, I'm going to move a little bit off topic here, and we know you're associated with Cannabis Digest, and maybe we could talk a little bit about that, where you are, what you're doing, how people can get it, find you online, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, absolutely. Cannabis Digest is a publication that is actually put out by the Hempology 101 BC Society, which is a not-for-profit organization dedicated to spreading the word about the medicine. And Hempology 101 BC owns the Victoria Cannabis Buyers Club, and it also owns Cannabis Digest, basically. So you can find us online at cannabisdigest.ca. There is a paper publication as well that gets distributed across Vancouver Island and across the city of Vancouver. And basically, it's a serious publication talking about prohibition, talking about legalization, talking about the medical cannabis movement, It features articles from just a slew of excellent, really well-informed Canadians and lots of our American cousins, physicians, lawyers, activists like me. We all write and blog, and there's quite a lively discussion in the Cannabis Digest forums. Anyways, I think it's probably one of the leading activist newspapers in the country. I've been writing for them for a little bit over a year now. I blog for them as well on the website, and we get some pretty crazy reach on some of the stuff that we're producing, and we have fans and people who write to us from all over the world. It's really an excellent source of information. So I urge everybody to seek out the website, and it will help you plug into what's going on the West Coast for sure. But also, we try to cover things that are happening all over the country.
Awesome. And how long's your Cannabis Digest been around, you know?
Oh, man, going back to the very early days, back into the 90s, like late 90s, I think is when Hemp started to first publish it.
Yeah, you bet. I know it's been around a long time. How can people get a hard copy?
Yep. If you go on the website, you can just email us, and we'd be happy to put you on the mailing list, and we'll ship it wherever you like.
Awesome. Do you send the digest anywhere outside the country?
Yeah, it does go outside the country to a couple places in the U.S., I think. And I'm not sure if he's shipping it as far as Europe yet, but I'm certainly that it's in the plans. It's funny, though, nowadays that hardcover is I love it still because I like to have the newspaper in my hand, but a lot of people get their news from the Internet. So our website is heavily trafficked, which is good.
Right. Yeah, well, I'm an old skidder. I like a hard copy. It's like I like a catalog instead of perusing the website and trying to find the product I'm looking for.
Yeah, I hear you.
I guess it's just a preference. It's hard to teach an old dog new tricks sometimes, and
that's why we still print them.
Yeah,
exactly. And I do have to admit that I do use my smartphone and my tablet to get like Time Magazine, Newsweek, New York Post, LA Times, so that because it's hard to even go around the country to get those and to always get into a bookstore. And I want to mention at this point, that's one of the reasons why we've got joint conversations on our website. It's a 20-page little newsletter that because the cost of print, we didn't go for print. That's very expensive, and then so is shipping. And this way people do download the little newsletter. And some people then pay to print it out. It's about $1.50 and hand it out to their local customers at dispensaries and head shops and maybe events. So if they want to print out about 10 or 15 copies, they can do so sometimes for the cost of a magazine and hand it out to their friends. So I understand exactly what you're saying there about the cost of print. And so we try to do something like that.
Yeah, and the internet, it's amazing how just this last thing with the Nanaimo situation here, how far-reaching our social media was. I mean, we had this story spread across the globe in 12 hours. There were people sending us emails from England and from Australia. And as an old activist that's been doing this for 20 years, as a guy who used to write letters to the Prime Minister and hope I'd get a response within 3 months, this instant Facebook stuff is freaking me out, man. I couldn't believe, like it was crazy that how quickly it spread and how all of a sudden all this big news media in the country is calling this little dispensary in Nanaimo, BC, and it happened overnight. And man, that makes an old activist like me smile. I got to tell you.
Yes, instantaneous. The world is at a much faster pace than when I grew up, that's for sure. And like everything, I guess it's pluses and minuses, but I think the pluses are pretty big. And knowing about events when they happen right away, unfortunately, some of the terrorist acts like the recent ones in Paris, allowing, it allows people to get in contact with loved ones to make sure they're okay, and to know that something has actually happened, not 2 days later and then wondering what's going on. before the morning newspaper comes, and you catch wind of what's happening. The real time today is spectacular. It's rapid, it's instant, and I think it's really, really beneficial. And like you say, it gets the word out there for activists like yourself. It's like beating your head against the wall for so long, and then all of a sudden this information highway comes along, and like you say, within in less than a day, you're hearing from people all around the world about your situation, and that's a great thing. Information and knowledge is what we all need, and to make informed decisions, and having that in real time is really incredible, and just the sheer volume of it, the people that see it or read it or that pass by it, just because it's out there on the web, is also very interesting.
It's pretty amazing. Information is power, man. We all know that, and it's just one of the things that I'm just constantly stunned by the internet, and how far we actually reach with the things that we post on this internet. It's amazing, and for us as 21st century activists, man, it is the greatest tool that has ever been invented, because every single dispensary that was served this notice from RCMP, they filmed this RCMP officer serving this. There were 25 copies of him serving this letter. This is something that you would never have seen in the old days, man. If you got a picture of somebody doing something, you were lucky. And now we have 25 copies of something. We have national news agencies offering to tie into our security feeds so they can be there when we're raided. I mean, when did you ever hear of anything like that?
Wow, that's kind of yeah.
Well, and if you look, just I believe yesterday another one was released, a video of at a police arrest of an actual innocent guy who was mistaken identity, yet they were punching him and kicking him and doing all that kind of stuff. And I think back into my lifetime and all the people who claimed that they were beaten by police, and you think, oh yeah, well, you're a bank robber, or you're this or you're that, and you're probably just trying to get off your charges. But I think a lot of those people sure wish there was camera videos around, and their story was caught on video, because we certainly realize now it happens a lot more than we ever thought.
Yeah, I have to tell you that I honestly feel in my case, in the RCMP situation in Nanaimo, I don't think they really counted on this thing exploding the way it did. I don't think they realized that the power of social media. And at one point, I know one of the we formed a little coalition of all the shops here in town, and called the RCMP when it first happened to discuss it. And they said, oh, and we know you guys are activists, and you can go out and make some noise, but that's not going to help you in this case. And I think they didn't understand what they were saying, because it certainly did help.
Well, I'm going to tell my grandmother, she's going to tell her bridge club. You just wait.
I've had old ladies sticking their heads in the dispensary door all week saying, I don't smoke marijuana, but I support you guys.
There you go. Well, we're down to the last couple of minutes to the big broadcast. This gives you an opportunity to give a shout out to any URL or organization that you want to put a spotlight on. We'll go with our joint guest first, and then to our joint host next here on the big joint broadcast.
I would say please have a look at phoenixpainmanagement.com and say hello. Send us a note and let us know you're out there. We want to hear from everybody, and our job is to hook up the cannabis community in this country. So just drop us a line and say howdy.
Groovy. And Kelly?
Well, for all you medical patients out there who maybe didn't catch my free offer of a quality vaporizer, just send me an email to kelly@kdkwholesale.ca, and I certainly hope to hear from you soon.
And I want to remind people that we are a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week, all cannabis, all the time broadcasting network, the only one right now under the sun, and the only one that's also on iHeartRadio. And like a good joint, we are always best when you share us with your friends. We've got a lot of great speakers on the broadcast. Judge James Gray does a show here. Mark Emery's doing a show on the network. So is Skunk Magazine, as well as Pace is on the broadcast with Al Graham, Pace Organization. So we got a lot of people on from Canada making a big noise, and then we're heard all around the world as well. So again, share us with your friends, and remember, the next time you hear me, you'll know that it's time for hemp.
Look at all that money, yeah, the money that they spent. Take another look and spend some time for him. Don't cut trees for paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yes.
You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. The only broadcasting network dedicated to ending the global war on drugs on iHeartRadio.